Greetings, Tony from Old River Hardgoods again, where it's hot and windy. Well, the music you're listening to is Blues For Flauros from my third CD, Angels on Fire. And as always, there's a link to the full version and a video I made of it down there in the description. And today's video is a continuation of one that I did back in February of this year, a fascinating world of collectible old tools. And we're going to have a mix of some live stuff with real tools, as well as some slideshow presentations showing some ones from the past. So lots to look at, lots to learn. So sit back and enjoy. And here we're going to take a look at a tool I recently picked up down at the Forks of the Delaware Antique Arms Show in Allentown, PA, for a gentleman who shows up there with tools from time to time. I've gotten some really good stuff off of them, and saw this one, and we came to a price, and it followed me back to the shop. And of course, it's a one-handed scorp, measuring a little under 11 inches long. Blade is 2 5/8 inches across, and the blade is touch marked on the inside. Now, this guy's definitely got some age to it, and it was in reasonably good shape. He's the one who did the cleaning on it and the refinishing, but he's been at it for quite a while, so I can't fault him too much, except for one minor detail, which we'll get to in a minute. But the blade was pretty clean. One spot of pit, but other than that, it wasn't bad. And edge would need a little work. There are some checks under the handle, along with a few deceased wormholes, but everything's on tight. And note that decorative carving. Yeah, that's the one thing he painted over a spot of paint. He could have lifted off, but yeah, what did it do, right? I'll tell you what, it's a really gorgeous tool, and if I was still collecting, it would be in my collection. But instead, it's on its way to its new owner as we speak. So they're sure getting hard to find. And here's a quick look at a couple other examples of these one-handed scorps that I've had over the years. Some folks will call these turpentine hacks, which they may have been used for, but I don't know. They got used for whatever they needed to be used for. And of course, there's always lots of pitting on them because these are old tools, they're not brand new, shiny tools. And if you're going to use it, you just kind of do a slight bevel on both sides of the blade, and you clear the pitting for the most part. But the handle was kind of nice on this one. And here's another one with a somewhat smaller head. And you get more pitting. Blade was a little more rounded on this one, but still, they are few and very far between. And here we're going to take a look at a divider, an early divider that I featured in one of my flea market segments. Here's what it looked like originally. Hand forged, late 18th, early 19th century wing divider, wing compass. It is marked. See that? And that'll clean up nice. Yeah, okay, here's more marks. I didn't look at this side yet. Duh. But anyways, that will clean up to be very, very nice. And I thought it was late 18th century, but the more I looked at it and played with it, it's definitely early 19th century. Kind of thinking German, just from the style. But that's just a guess. But it cleaned up pretty well. I mean, there's some frosting, patina. Legs are actually steel all the way down. I mean, barely see the transition there, but it's there. Some funkiness in the iron body up there, and user marks. Lots of user marks. Made sure nobody was going to steal this guy, but all in all, pretty good shape. I did put a little oil up in the joint. Of course, it's not going to work now because I'm doing it one-handed, but yeah. Joint works smoothly. Screw looks to be original and holds, and tips are good. This guy's off to a new home, so I just figured I'd give you a good look at it. But I tell you what, it's a nice looking early tool. We're going to take a look now at some other examples of early dividers. This one's kind of in a similar style, 19th century. We got this one here. This was kind of a neat one, primitive, very primitive, blacksmith made. Simple hinge joint, but a nice round treatment at the top. And you can see the screw there. It's just a simple like eye bolt. It's been threaded in, but it was a funky piece. It's still a very great primitive tool if you like such things. I do. Another one of the earlier German style ones. This one had the Masonic emblem stamped on the wing, or the Freemasons. And this is the style of compass that they show on their logo. Oh, it probably was one of the ritual tools at one point in time, or maybe the guy just was a Freemason. Hard to say. And last, we gotta say, 18th century. One, either 18th century or early 19th century, but I'm pretty sure this one's more 18th century because of the style of the filing, the wing treatment, and of course the larger screw. 2+1 joint on it, and I've had a lot of these over the years, but they're always fun and they're always great collectibles. Well, here we're going to take a look at plane I recently picked up, being a patternmaker's wooden core box plane. Now, back in October of 2024, I did a whole video on patternmaker's tools, and surprisingly, it was one of the few specialty videos that actually got some interest. But anyways, core box planes are used for hollowing out the insides of round, like pipes, whatever you're doing. The most common ones, of course, are the Stanleys, but you do see these wooden ones very, very rarely anymore, but they are out there. And this one's kind of decent shape. It's got let me start. 9 5/16 inches long. It's 3 3/16 inches high, not counting the wedge in the iron, and it's 6 inches wide. And there's no maker's mark, but there's a neat kind of inscription here, if you can see this. It's marked from Joe to Bill, July 1966. 60 years ago, this was gifted. But this is a lot older than that. As I said already, the body's beech, the plain body's beech, and these pieces here look to be either mahogany or walnut. Sometimes hard to tell, but again, it's in decent shape. I did a little, just wipe down and get some dust and grime off of it. And, the iron's not too bad. And wedges definitely got some wear, and I mean, look at the wear here on the heel from the being gripped. Wow, you imagine how many miles of wood this thing was pushed through to get to that point. But say what though, like I said, these are not very common planes, and sure, it's not for everybody, but if you collect wooden planes or in the pattern maker's tools, this is definitely one to be on the lookout for. Next up, we're going to take a look at some collectible early bevel squares. This guy here had a brass blade and I believe a rosewood handle on it. It's pretty long too, about 12, 14 inches. And you see the marks, the 5 and the user initials and copper rivet. And fortunately, I paid a lot for that one. It took a while to sell, but I do believe it's gone. I haven't seen it around here in a while. Here's one by Johnson and Conaway. They were Philadelphia, PA makers of squares from 1840 until 1857 when Diston bought them out. He had a habit of doing that. He didn't like people's work and buy them out or just buy them out so they wouldn't compete against him. And this was actually in pretty good shape. I mean, blade wasn't too badly beat up and handle was good. And I tell you what, these guys, these early signed Philly ones are sure not getting any easier to come by. This one's kind of neat. Not 100% sure how old it was, but wood was maple or oak. Has that bunny ear type nut on top, brass plates. So I suspect this one was probably in the vicinity of about 150 or so years old when I had it. And size is about, probably about 10 inches or so, 10, 12 inches on it. But, you know, everything works, so that's all that mattered. There's another early one, possibly 18th century. We got the bunny ears again, but this time on a screw rather than on a nut. It's a pivot style. Again, 18th century, although they did make them into the 19th century as well. But blade had some serious patina, but again, this one had the right age to it, and very, very hard to find anymore. And last up is this guy, which is it was about a 12 or 14 inch oak, but it got heavily stained. I mean, it almost looks like rosewood, but it's not. Joint was a little bit loose, and you see the nails where it had been pieced together at the bottom there, and you know, great collectible old tool. And if you don't have a whole bunch of early squares in your collection, you sure are missing out. We're going to take a look now at a brass folding rule that I picked up on my visit in June up at Madison Bachville. The segments are 8 and 29/32 each in length. Overall, when extended, this guy's 67 3/4 of an inch. And it only marks this as a W here and an H on the other side. And the scales are logarithmic, so to speak. Decrease, let's see if you can see them. There's the spaces between the rulings are wider at the smaller numbers and smaller at the larger numbers. Yeah, I can talk. It's been another long day. And the other side, do this here, has got similar rulings, but different spacings. There's the H. And the individual that purchased it seems to feel that it's a log caliper rule or a board foot rule, which makes sense. That's used for, you lay this up against a log and use it to see how many feet of board you can saw out of it. Pretty rare piece because I've never seen another brass one, and nobody else seems to have mentioned one, at least from what I can find. And it was decent shape. Again, I did wipe a little brass polish off of it to get rid of some green and crud and stuff that was on it. And the joints are all a little loose, but you know, this is probably 150 years old, by my guesstimate. And pretty neat piece. And one of these days, well, it will be going to a new home. It's already purchased. One of the guys I do piles for, and so when he gets enough stuff, off she'll go. But anyways, just a gorgeous and great collectible specialty tool. And while we're on the subject of rules, might as well take a look at a couple early ones here. I may have shown these in the past, but it's not like I keep a log of this stuff, you know? But anyways, this was a 1 foot, 18th century folding rule. I mean, it was in fair condition. I mean, you find them minty, and I tend to get suspicious about them unless they came out of a verified collection. But yeah, the rulings were worn a bit. The joints were worn. Obviously, the legs are sprung out a little, but hard to find, even in this kind of shape, complete at least. I see pieces, but rarely complete. Duh. And here's one, and this is a really nice tool. It took me a while to sell it, but it's a brass blade, and it is a rule. It could be used as a bevel, but rule also. And the neat thing about this was that it was ruled, the handle was ruled using brass pins. Now, I really doubt that you did that with a machine. And I imagine the time to do that. I mean, the craftsmanship, just total craftsmanship there. And, tools like these are just, once in a lifetime you might find one. I doubt I will ever see another. And here we're going to take a look at a somewhat common tool, being a wooden spoke shape. But there's a couple of features about this guy, I'll make it a little more on the uncommon side. It's 13.5 inches long. The blade is 3 11/16 of an inch, a little bit under 5/8 inches wide, and this weighs 8 ounces. And makes it unusual, first off, is the wood, because it's made of oak. Something you don't see with spoke shapes very often. I usually beech or boxwood or occasionally rosewood for the fancier stuff. But, and the blade was hand forged from a file. You can't really see it here. Let me bring up the picture. Boom, boom. Yeah, definitely used a crafted piece, but it's in reasonably good shape. There's some wear here at the mouth and the sole. Of course, you want to get crafty with it. You can just saw that down and insert a different piece of wood or something that will wear a little better, maybe even a piece of bone, but I'm not much for those kind of projects anymore. The blade's good. It does remove and it holds, which is about the only thing that goes wrong with these guys, unless you got some severe body cracks. Oh, there's a little bit of check in there, but or a chip lifting, but that won't hurt it. But definitely a pretty unusual example of this tool, and still can be used. So that's all for this one, folks. I hope you enjoyed my little presentation. And if you like what you're seeing, please hit that subscribe button to be notified when new videos are posted. As always, thanks for watching, and bye.